additions of deletions to the agenda. Okay, item 2H, consider and all recommend action with regard to SRO contract. Mr. Williams.
Yes, I was able to, and I know it was tabled last week, I was able to get, some information from several outside companies. I did place that on your, in front of your chairs. But I still have an additional company that I need to reach out to tomorrow in reference to, what their cost would be, in terms of securing our 4 campuses that we use at 3 high schools as well as our alternative programs. So, the first company, and I'm not gonna say the name of the company, but their base salary for those 4 employees would be $240,000. That doesn't include any overtime, which would go into time and a half. So, as I mentioned, some of the other companies that I did reach out to, they don't provide this type of service. And that first company said that they would have to get their officers trained with the school resource officer guidelines.
Mr. Clay?
Mr. Fairweather, go ahead.
Just 2 things. Matter of fact, Mr. Clay and I spoke today, and I thought he had a great idea to possibly put it out for bid for one thing. It's one way you could go.
Request for proposals.
Request for proposal. You know, that's one. And then the other item that I think it was Mr. Pucci and I spoke about together, could you check with the sheriff's department, why do we need a vehicle on those campuses? Because that, you can save some costs right there if we decide to go with the sheriff. And see,
I can tell you why. When you're going down the highway, you see a billboard for
sure,
advertising.
sure,
The vehicle there, if there's somebody gonna be a shooter, come to the campus, you see the vehicle there, well, it's gonna deter them. They're not gonna go. They have a police officer there, the vehicle's in the front, and that's advertising that it's gonna be a safe campus. You know, that's my opinion.
yeah, but, you know, just because we paying for tires, we're paying for insurance, and they call it gets parked there and it stays there. If they have an incident at school, to get them transported out, they call in another deputy and they transport them. Just kind of,
At their expense.
yeah, so, you know, and right now, if we have an incident, like Mr. Blanchard was asking the last meeting about, if we have an incident, we call the sheriff's department, they come arrest them. Even if we have an outside agency that would come in and do the services and stuff like that. We still have 1 month, we'll have to approve it next month because then the school starts, but at least I can look at all options this way. Is what I'm hoping for.
Well, my opinion is they're professionals. They have the training. Football games, because of what happened in St. Martin, they're gonna have to have more officers at the game.
I was gonna say, if you look at our offices over here, a lot of the time they congregate and just having a good old time, some of
Well,
them. And,
that needs to be addressed.
and like me personally, I think they ought to be helping park cars, you know, doing things the right way. Because, and you go out of Parish, and that's what those guys are doing.
Well, that's what they used to do a long time ago.
Yeah. So, but I'm done with that.
What you did, you made a motion?
No, well, we'll motion it to, well, Mr. Wilson has to get some more feedback,
Okay.
so we'll come back next month and move on.
Item 2B, consider and all recommend action with regard to budget choice. Ms. Russo.
We were asked to make a committee and go through and find ways that we could save money. So that's what we did. We held a special meeting. We discussed all of these items, brought it up last month. It got tabled, so we are bringing it back up again. These are our recommendations. We looked at all of the areas, like I explained at the special meeting. Salaries and benefits are over 85% of our budget. And when you put that into real numbers, that is the only place you're really gonna materialize savings enough to do what we need to do to continue to move forward, fiscally responsible. So I'm presenting this again.
But Mr. Poche had kind of given me an idea last month, and I actually have been thinking about it the whole month, Rich. When we were talking, we just spoke in general about the budget. The one thing, as I said last meeting, the one thing I disagree with is cutting our student-teachers ratio, because that's our front line. I think there's other ways we can look at it, and I'm willing to sacrifice the student-teacher ratio, leave it at this, what we've been having it at, and it's gonna probably put us at a negative. But I think this will give us the whole, starting now, start looking at other areas, like transportation. Possibly other areas, some of us talked about, consolidating positions, and things like that. And I think once we do that for a complete year, whether it's through attrition or, we abolish positions, maybe we can come close to the budget that we need. But I think we need to keep the student-teacher ratio as it was this past year.
Kind of need to follow last year's parish,
Yeah.
where you cut
Right.
central office first. Because your teachers, principals, and facilities need to be well taken care of,
Correct.
I mean, I will add,
We're kind of top heavy right now. We're having too many this and too many that. So that's where you need to cut. And I'm against cutting maintenance, because 2 times they called an outfit outside at the primary in St. Martinville, and it's still not fixed right. It's cool.
So do you want to leave maintenance alone too?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Maintenance and student-teacher ratio?
Right.
Anybody else have it? Richard?
I agree with that, because, I look at the overall bulk figure. Why put ourselves in deficit? We have approximately $34 million.
I presented that to you.
I know, but I'm saying is why put ourselves in a headache? When I came on board 32 years ago, we was in a $2 million deficit. We had to figure a way to get out of it. It's not
And
my
that's-
job right now. My job is to make sure my students learn.
That's right.
Work get done. And, we might come out $1 million deficit, but we can sustain that for 2 or 3 years. It won't hurt us. Let the next boys figure out how to get out of it.
That's exactly what
Listen, first of all, I want to thank staff for giving me the information they gave me. And I think, if y'all remember, I asked for supervisors, how many supervisors we have. And I wanted to see what salaries were, what job descriptions were. And I think the rest of the board probably needs to see some of that. And I think you can see right offhand where we could probably bring some jobs together, abolish some positions, and then whether it's through retirement or just basically telling people, look, we have a job to do. Let's move forward. You don't do the job, but then we abolish it and move, go from that route, because we can't demote them, but we can abolish their positions, correct, Mark?
Correct.
So I think it would be something good to see. And when I have another item on the regular agenda today.
So we have the authority to do that?
Yeah.
Abolish positions?
We abolish, but we can
We
create.
can't demote anybody, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That would
you
be-
can-
That would be the superintendent.
you can't affect personnel, but you can create and abolish positions. And then once those are created, then the superintendent
Fills it accordingly.
So is there anything on this proposal that y'all want to take off?
Yeah, the teachers, ratio.
Student-teacher ratio.
And maintenance.
Now, another area where we probably need to look at is staffing at each individual schools to make sure that we're properly staffed. Some we may be overstaffed, some we may be understaffed. So, and again, everybody's gonna take care of their own area. So we're gonna have to basically do the hard cuts for the most part.
And the staffing is normally done at the beginning of school.
Yeah.
With the superintendent.
And yeah, I mean, this year, we'll go over what we're doing, but I think it needs to be looked at, so like when we hit that next budget, it'll be most of us our last one, at least we can say, hey, we did our job, let's move forward.
I was trying to get a copy of that. I would like to get a copy of it.
Okay. I mean, either that or all the information I have, I think it was Ms. Lobby that came up with it. and
Can
Mr.
I
Broussard.
take your packet and just run copies of it?
Yeah, I'll get it.
I will say this, I will say this just to kind of, not to try to put the supervisor or staff in any type of position or whatever, but if you're just looking at the job descriptions that are created, don't hold the people that you see sitting in here just to what's written on paper, because there's a lot of work that goes on that's not written in those job descriptions. Those job descriptions are what the board is required to have and what as Ms. Julie as HR supervisor is required to have. But there's so much more that goes beyond what's in just the general job description that people do. So I don't want us to kind of put people in a box and say, okay, this is the job that you do, and this is a small amount of work that's on a piece of paper, because there's a lot more that goes into it. I think what I'd like staff to be able to do is have frank conversations with you to tell you or show you exactly what they do so that you understand the magnitude of the work that they do. I don't know if we're top heavy because we haven't replaced a lot of the central office staff that we've had over the years. I can think about people who've retired or passed away that we haven't replaced. I don't think we're top heavy, but trying to combine positions with the amount of requirements the things that we're being asked to do from the state level, it's going to be very difficult. So it's not an 8 to 4 o'clock job. It doesn't happen that way. I was at work late yesterday and I'm fortunate, I was glad I was, because I had a couple of phone calls that I needed to take, but it doesn't just happen in between those hours. There's a lot that happens that we just don't see. So I don't want it to be, the appearance to be that we have so many supervisors that we have people that are absolutely just sitting around doing absolutely nothing, because that's far from the case. So, and I totally understand the need to have the pupil teacher ratio at what it is, but I have to just have you to understand that if we try to combine the staff that we have now at central office, we're gonna be in a pickle, because every surrounding district from us is top heavy. They're top heavy. Like they could cut 20 people from the top because and I hate to use them, but I'll use Lafayette Parish. Their media department is probably bigger than the central office staff that we have here. Just the people who put stuff out to the news media and who do all of that work is probably bigger than the amount of people that we have in central office. So those are some of the things that we have to figure out. If you watch the news this morning and the day before yesterday, the former nutrition manager that we had, all of those people that were working in that warehouse with her packaging those items, those are all people that work in that nutrition department. We have 2, maybe 3 people max in nutrition. So some of those areas are top heavy, but they have so much more than we have. So we're making it work with what we have, but to be able to try to eliminate some of what we have right now, I don't know how we would sustain what we're doing.
The only thing I have to say, Mr. Superintendent, is we're losing kids. We don't have the number of kids we used to.
That's the bottom line.
I mean,
But the
whatever
requirements
reason.
are still the same, whether you have 10 kids in the classroom or you have 20, the reporting requirements and the things that our jobs we're required to do don't change. So that stays constant. It doesn't matter. They don't care at the State Department how many kids you have in your school district. These things still have to be done. So
And the people that I'm talking about, and for the ones that are doing the job, doing a great job, thank you. Okay, but that 5% rule, that's
I
not
don't
being
disagree with
addressed.
that.
It hurts the whole system. You
Well,
know, and that's why, again, I'll bring up, you can't do it in public, but we'll bring up names. Look, we need to abolish this position. This is why. We're hearing this. Boom. Tell me if we're wrong, and then go from there.
And we need to meet with the supervisors and let them explain to us
Right, well, that's what you're
what their
saying.
job descriptions are, because
Right.
I know some of them doing double work. And I know it's a lot of work for the state. We as board members, you don't know what they're going through. to keep us above where we are. So you have to look at all of that. Let them come explain to you. Some of you thinking they don't do nothing, but it's a lot of work to keep St. Martin Parish looking good. We could say what we want, but if you meet up with them personally, they can explain to you. They might be doing double work to keep us abroad for what's going on in our parish. We just have to talk with them. We might have to eliminate, some of them might have to do 3-4 jobs, and they don't have that enough hours to do it. So we need to look at that.
And
We
I'll
just can't
just
say cut this for them.
make one more statement about the student-teacher ratio. We are below the state.
A lot of work for the state.
Whatever the state's number, we are below that. Even going up 2, we would still not be at the state's student-teacher ratio.
Thirty.
What is the state?
Well, a class size, pre-K through pre-K through third can be 26. Well, kindergarten through third. And from third on up, it can be 33. That's the maximum allowed in the classroom.
What was that?
I have to share, what she's saying though, our class sizes, what this teacher to student ratio is not the number of kids in a classroom. Schools are given an amount of teachers, but they are using some of these positions and they're not offsetting class sizes. So just know that too. Like if they can choose to have different positions that are more administrative, that assist the administrator, that's eating up that classroom teacher.
Correct.
So we looked at it by campuses, and there are some campuses that are very top heavy and have larger class sizes, but it's the way they're choosing to utilize their staff.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. Some principals, like, and I don't know if board members are aware of that, a lot, like for the high schools, librarian counts as a teacher. Yes, they see students, but they're not teaching. Counselors count as a teacher.
That's what I'm.
Yes, they see students, but they're not a teacher. So there are positions that we do have to use for various
They have you
jobs.
as 37 right here. And
Say again?
I figured I'd let you know that.
Third-
Right here, I'm seeing
Is
you.
that
at 37.
MSP or is that
That's 37 on there.
No, that's not MSP, that's teaching spots.
Total
That's how many
teaching spots, okay.
spots.
And that's what I wanted to know, you know. where-
Well, I mean, some are, they're broken up into different categories. Some are MFP and some are not. Like sped teachers, those don't count. Like what we have for staff. I mean, they count, but not MFP. But I mean, there are some positions that are not, it's not, they're not actually teaching.
I figured that number would catch you off guard.
Yeah. But I mean, that's total teachers. That's
Yeah.
all of them. That's not, you know.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept this budget
As,
As-
as
as voted by Mark.
Yeah, it stated 30, so.
Sure, we're gonna, have the student-teacher ratio what the previous year was, with whatever they were, 20, whatever. And then also leave the maintenance department as is also, correct?
Correct.
Right. Anybody else have anything else?
substitute motion.
It'll be a simple, well,
Well,
it's
it's
a
the main
motion, it's a main motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Bear, second by Mr. Oti. Anybody else? All right, let's vote.
You know, I can thank Mr. Porter for me coming to myself.
Motion passed. Item 2C, consider and or recommend action with regard to sales tax supplement.
Right before the meeting, I did pass out an updated form. I did find out at a meeting last week that they confirmed that the state is gonna fund a stipend. They were originally trying to make it as part of a salary increase and that failed with the voters. So they are gonna fund a stipend, and I did not have that on the original paper that I sent out on you guys, so I added it here. But the recommendation that I have, and it's based on a steady increase of sales tax collections over the last, probably 7 or 8 years. We have increased the number of supplements that we are given to, employees because it was always the board's, since I have been here, that the sales tax funds go to the employees. So each year, we would evaluate how much we were collecting and make sure we distributed supplements to bring it. We do have a fund balance for those two accounts, to keep us afloat if anything were to happen. But keeping like 3 months in there and then dispersing everything to the employees. So based on what we've been doing over the last couple of years and how much it's been growing, my recommendation is to take $2,400 of the sales tax supplements that we gave last year and put them into our salary schedules and then reduce the actual supplements given by that amount. Where employees would be kept whole, they would receive the same amount they did this year, but part of it would be part of their salary
So
and
they,
permanent moving forward.
so basically you want to give them into their salaries, $2,400. But then also have these supplements that you have listed right here accordingly, right?
Yes.
And, well, basically all of them $1,000 a month
2,400 into the salary or as a supplement?
into the salary.
Into the salary?
Yeah. The only thing about that is you have one bad year. And once you put that into, just so everybody knows, once you put it in there, and Mr. Boyer, please, correct me if I'm wrong. You can't get it out. You can't get it out.
Right,
We did it
but-
already.
Was that,
It was done already.
was that,
That was given already, like that, sales tax.
The first thing that would, if sales tax
And
starts
took it away, nobody, right?
to decline, you would take away from the 6,000 additional sales tax supplements that you're given
Right.
and keep your funds to support your salaries.
no matter what they get that money, it's just.
Right,
It'll help out also is on their retirement.
exactly. It's a benefit to the employees to have it in their salary versus as a supplement. They're getting the same amount anyway.
It's a benefit for what?
It's a benefit to the employees to have it in their salary instead of as an extra supplement.
So what you're saying is, we're good with it right now, we have the funds to do this. And if things get, changed, we can always take out of the supplement.
Correct, yes, sir.
6,000 that it gave.
Yes, sir.
What's the benefit of being in the salary?
Because it helps towards
Because every month they
retirement.
have a little more stripes?
That, and then it also helps towards retirement because it's part of our base salary.
Why don't we just take the whole thing
No.
and make it monthly, as a supplement?
Because then that wouldn't be included in our salary.
But then it would be getting something every month to offset what you were saying.
Right, but,
So they get something every month.
right, I
And if we ever
understand,
have a problem, we can take it away with not being a problem.
but
You take it out of the salary. It's a salary, it's a salary.
if you,
Once you put it in, you can't take it out.
well, first of all, payroll wise, that would, that's,
They prefer that.
The lower, you know?
So Jim,
Got a motion?
if we have a slow year, instead of getting 6,000, we're going to 45.
right, I would start pulling back on the additional supplements if I saw that sales tax.
We have a motion by Mr. Coche, accept. Second by Mr. Edmund, let's vote. Motion passed. Item 2D, consider NL recommend action with regard to purchasing school buses.
All right, over the past year, we, had some busing issues where we didn't have enough good buses for the transportation department, along with the influx of coaching, having coaches at the high school level, having a CDL to transport the students to and from the games. So Mr. Pulte did mention that we need to get some numbers to purchase some buses. Over the past year, we did lose 2 buses in our fleet. So did get some numbers on 5 regular buses, and you have the numbers in front of you, along with 2 sped buses that we need to purchase.
Another comment.
Ms. Davis.
Mr. Chevalier, from my knowledge, we haven't implemented that, was it transponder?
It's on track. We had training yesterday, we had additional training.
Is that gonna take less buses?
It would take less buses, if you do it right.
What you mean? We don't know.
Unless we're implementing the wrong information, which is possible, because if, what we were told in the past, you have a bus driver, they're swiping these cards to make sure that the numbers are up and everything. I don't know how true that is, just saying, well, we're here. So until that program is implemented, I think we need all combined buses.
I don't know if you're gonna eliminate 7 routes. You're not gonna eliminate a handful of routes with that program. That program is designed to make the running of the routes more efficient. But in the first year, you're not gonna see the elimination of routes to where you're gonna have 7 or 8 buses off of the road. That's not the way it's designed to work. So.
Something wrong there.
I think we need to go with this for the simple reason, we've lost some buses, we need to replace. And we're looking at some buses that are not gonna make it through the year. And if we wait, we won't get these buses in time to replace them. But it takes about a year to get these buses once you order.
You realize how many people in car pickup lines? That's what I keep on getting, because you look at these buses, they're not full. So if they do this program right, and again, I don't know what the program is supposed to be, but I know what we were expecting is to make sure that we maximize these buses. And also, again, I go back, bus drivers are supposed to get paid 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours in the afternoon. It's not a matter of I get 1 load or 2 loads and I'm finished with my day. I know it's gonna take an act of Congress probably to get them done, for us to implement that, but we need to do it, and you'll save some money there. That, and you'll eliminate the budget system, which I hate to see how much that is costing us every year. Again, that's another area where we attack and we see where we can save money at.
Who's gonna get the air-conditioned buses? Who's gonna get the air-conditioned buses? What areas can you get?
Do we need that?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think so.
Our buses ought to be air-conditioned, all of them.
Well, yeah, all of them.
Instead of spending all this money on 3 new regular buses and 2 sped buses, we need to think about air conditioning for all our buses.
Because you can only have a select, and that's gonna cause it.
Yeah, that's right, it's gonna cause, I want the new bus, this and that, then.
How do you give that new bus to that person?
The next one in line.
Right.
We have a truck, we have a problem.
But just the way we do the buses, when we get 5 new buses, somebody gets a bus, you know?
I still think you're going to need to purchase buses. We had baseball teams last year that were in buses and were stranded at a school after they went to an event. One of the buses was absolutely unsafe for them to drive. We're gonna have to purchase some buses. We can't continue to run those risks. And Mr. John can vouch for me. The driver, the coach,
In the shop.
the coach
The
took.
shop's supposed to keep these buses up.
It's a bus that technically, and I don't want to speak for transportation, but should be out of service, but we didn't have any other bus.
How many years, how much mileage?
Well, I got the list of buses and there were none over the age limit.
That's right.
How much?
Well, I think we should just bite the bullet, buy the buses, see how our transponder works next year, and then we'll have newer buses in the system that can take care of our kids. Maybe we ought to just bite the bullet this
It will be in effect first day of
It
school.
will be.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
I said,
We have a motion by Mr. Pupil to accept, and second by Mr. Duriel. Okay, that's one. What about, is it with or without air conditioning?
With air conditioning.
how many buses are air
Bus
conditioned?
driver, zero.
None.
Do we have to have air conditioning?
No, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just a sped bus.
We have even to, like,
The regular buses, the estimate is with the air conditioning.
Currently that we have, just sped,
Yes.
yeah, just sped.
Is it a state law that you have to have air conditioning?
Not yet.
Okay. So, let's go on to the proposal.
Lafayette Parish spent $1 million air conditioning their buses,
Okay,
over $1 million.
so do we have to decide whether we're gonna have with or without air conditioning?
With.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to make.
What we need is Mr. Bucky, is your motion with?
My motion is with.
His motion is.
Okay, motion by Mr. Pucci, with the 5 buses with air conditioning.
I second.
Well, Mr. Jimmy's already seconded.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. Dorio, Mr. Dorio, second. I have a substitute motion to purchase the buses without air conditioning.
Who's making the substitute motion? You're making the substitute
You have
motion?
to give
You need to give your gavel up.
Here we have a substitute motion by Mr. Clay. Do we have a second?
I'll say it.
Second by Mark Abear. Okay, we have to vote on the substitute motion first. Any other discussion first? No? We'll vote on the substitute motion. Okay.
Press the wrong button. You were supposed to press. Oh, I pressed the wrong button.
Which one you want?
Which one you want?
No,
Okay, so it'd be 6.
so I failed.
So if it fails, we go to the original motion. I just wanted to, wait, let's clear it first. Ms. Whitey, can you clear the board?
Yes, 1 second.
All right, let's go to the original motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's that you wrote?
Stanley, how you vote? Yes, sir, original. Original. You say no? So it's 5-5, it's a tie.
We're back next month. Table it to the next month.
That's why we're doing it.
You say no?
I don't know, I'm still.
Okay, item 2E, general fund budget document comparison.
No action required.
Okay. Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Pucci, second by Mr. Dorio, meeting adjourned.
All right. All right, with the regular board meeting of Wednesday, July 7th, please come to order. Mr. Wilk, please lead us in a prayer.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, guide us today to make decisions that will affect our students and staff. Let us work together for the betterment of our system and all involved in it. In your holy name we pray. Amen. And the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any announcements, acclamations?
Yes, Mr. President, the AHEC summer program offers 9th, 10th, and 11th graders an incredible opportunity to explore healthcare careers while volunteering at Oshner St. Martin Hospital in Blue Ridge. Over 2 weeks in June, students rotate through various hospital departments such as the lab, pharmacy, emergency room, and surgery, shadowing healthcare professionals to gain firsthand medical experience. They also participate in enriching field trips, including visits to Acadian Everest, Dr. Davis's dentistry office, and Dr. Elias's women's care clinic. Additionally, students attend educational presentations from both the hospice and local organizations. This program allows students to refine their interests within the medical field. It is a state accredited and awards a half unit of high school elective credit upon successful completion. This year, 4 students from St. Martinville Senior High School and Woodbridge High School proudly participated, and I'll call on Ms. Underwood to please come forward to recognize these students.
We have a little presentation. This is a 2-week program that we offer over the summer to our students who are interested in the medical field. They get to actually go to local hospitals. They go to different organizations around the community that offer just different areas in the medical field, and they actually get to job shadow. They get to ask questions. They get to see what a day in the life of that position would be. So it kind of helps them to realize, well, maybe I wanted to be an ER, nurse, and then get there and see everything that's going on and realize that's not for them. So this program is really great for them to actually get to know the different positions and know whether or not that's something they want to go into. We do have 3 of our students here today who completed the program. They are from Brewer High and St. Marville Senior High. First up, we have Emma Bork. Madison Garrett. Brianna Gidry. And Mr. DeClarence Thomas couldn't be here today, but he participated as well. Thank you, guys.
Okay, any other announcements, accolades?
No, sir.
Okay, how about Southern Scripts?
Southern Scripts employee of the month is Ms. Danita Duty. She's a graduation coach, and she was nominated by Mr. Kevin Duda. Unfortunately, Ms. Duty could not be here today, so I'm gonna accept this on her behalf.
Okay. All right, any items to be removed from the consent agenda to be discussed? The consent to be removed, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. Which by Mr. Abraham? Second by Mr. Durio. The vote? Motion passes.
Mr. Coach, you skipped F.
Excuse me?
You skipped F, any additional resolutions to the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any additions or deletions to the agenda item? Any additions or deletions? None?
I want to remove mine.
Which is, number, A. We're gonna remove, 6A. Okay, we're gonna remove 6A. All right. Any others to be added or deleted? All right, let's move on. Finance Committee recommendations. I'd like to, any motions to accept? Motion by Mr. Mark to accept, second by Mr. Marlin. The vote. Okay, finance committee recommendations. New business. Consider and approve lease agreement for American Legion Post of 419 for old school board office located at 305 Washington Street. Mr. Wills?
Yes, Mr. Boyd had the opportunity to look over the lease agreement, and drew up a lease agreement that, is satisfactory in his opinion, so, it's just a matter of the board formally, approving the, agreement between the school board and the American Legion Post
I
419.
make a motion.
Second.
Wait, I have a question.
Steve?
The roof on that building was supposed to be replaced, and we never done it. So how can you lease a place that you didn't fulfill something that was, did it out, got quotes, but nobody did anything about it? That's a historical building, the old school board office. I think we need to replace the roof before we lease it out.
You got a good idea, and I think it should come from the bond. Each area, can put it, it's probably.
You have parish wide.
Yeah,
Parish wide.
Parish-wide.
And Mr. Schluter said we can probably start, we can start projects, but we have to kind of borrow against the money or something.
Yeah, I mean, something that has to go through the approval process is not gonna start before.
We had some quotes, nothing was done.
We don't have any other bond money left.
We have, no, the bond money that's left from the last bond that needs to be spent is allocated to each area. We don't have any parish-wide
What
money.
about the CRCC?
They have some money left.
How much do you think that would cost? Do you know?
I don't remember what the cost was.
It's a flat roof.
I don't remember when we got, I really have no
Mr.
idea.
Devlin had gotten a bunch of quotes, and he gotten 3 quotes, and
I say no more.
nothing happened.
We may need to get an update.
Yeah, we would have to
well,
get
everything
that.
went up now.
I mean, just from legal perspective, I don't think it stops you from entering into the lease agreement. If you guys want to replace the roof, you can. But the lease agreement does say that they are leasing it as is, in an as-is condition, and that we have no obligation to make any repairs. But if you want to make repairs, you can.
We can do it.
You're not obligated to do it.
We can do it in good faith, anyway, just on.
Yeah, keep it good enough.
All right, we have a motion to accept
Mr.
the lease.
Mr. Fulton, Ms. Wanda also mentioned the windows may need to be looked at as well too. So I just want to put that out there. If you're doing the roof, the windows, some of the windows may need to be.
Well, if you don't do the roof and do the windows,
Well,
you
no, I'm
just
saying,
gonna tear the building down.
no, I'm saying in addition to the roof, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying in addition to the roof. I'm not saying do the windows in lieu of the roof. I'm saying
Right.
do the windows and the roof if you're gonna do it. If you're
You're
gonna
gonna do it all in one.
Yeah.
Right, all in one shot. All right, we have a motion to accept the lease. Motion by Ms. Vital, second by Mr. Martin. We vote. Motion passes. Board requests, let's see, item B, discussion of pupil appraisal, Ms. Davis.
Can I do C first, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Yeah.
You see first,
Okay, and
discussion of school appraisal.
my main concern was, and I got it in this packet right here, was when was the pressure washing gonna be done on these schools and everything? I guess Mr. Chevalier ended up, or somebody got the information. You did? Okay, I didn't know who. It was in my packet, and my concern was, this is the time where you can paint, this is where you can do this. And I did have some concerns about the grass cutting, but I think Mr. Wilson's taking care of it. So, that short and sweet, well, unless anybody else has anything.
You got some nice longbow I've been seeing on this campus.
It is just personal.
All right, item B, discussion of pupil appraisal.
Okay, this came about, I've been hearing things over the past couple of years pertaining to pupil appraisal. And it came to a head over the last couple of months. And I decided to put it on the agenda because of all the budget cuts and everything, because I feel that this is one area that we could possibly cut. And I even got a text saying that one individual overheard people in pupil appraisal saying that they might have been two employees overstaffed, which is in my decision to make. I'm just saying with things that were said. Pupil appraisal wanted some time off, if I'm staying correct me if I'm wrong.
They wanted yes, they wanted to reduce the number of hours that they work in a day.
And a couple of years ago, the former superintendent They used to work 2 weeks after school and 2 weeks before school. They don't work 2 weeks before school anymore. So in my opinion, that needs to be addressed, because either they need to take a reduction in pay or start working the 2 weeks again. I think Ms. Jordan has put them back into the schools, which I think is a good thing.
They do, I just want to speak on the part about, so when we redid the, pay structure for directors, supervisors, and anyone indexed off the salary schedule, they did not get I want to make sure I say this properly. At that time, they asked for a reduction in the number of days that they work. So when we recalculated indexes, it started indexing off of the teacher's salary schedule instead of that old one. Their index did not change at the same rate that everybody else's changed, because we were reducing the number of days.
So I have be blunt. How is it they are making possibly more, around the same amount or more than, exclude the high school principals? I'm not talking about the high school principals and assistant principals.
Because their index is close to that.
Because we need to look at that, because.
And that's
No
how it
offense.
was, and I'm just telling you, this was before me.
Right, and that's why we need to look at it right now. I would like staff to look into it and come back with a different answer, because these people are making some pretty good, and okay, this is where the icing's on the cake. You got some of them going to do their hair on the clock, okay? Going to Walmart, being told not to go to Walmart, but yet coming back in this same building with the Walmart bags. That's well, where's she at? Oh, there you are. Well, and thank you for addressing it, and thank you for putting them back where I think they need to go. Now, it's gonna be a challenge to monitor them. Okay, but, and you're hearing the complaints too, and I wanna thank you for addressing them, but I think it needs to be made public. And it has nothing to do with you, because I think you do a fabulous job. It's hard for us because, and I guess the best way to, don't put us in that position where we have to bring it up, is what we're saying. And they're the ones who kept on harping, and they pretty much brought up her salary. And I wanted to bring that up, which I'm saying the CFO salary. A lot of question was on her, and it had nothing, the way the CFO salary was done, when Mr. Emile Soulier was hired, we gave him, in addition to the index, we gave him a plus $10,000, because we needed to get somebody from the outside area, and her raise, her pay was based off of that also. So to get all the question marks about why she makes a certain amount of money and all this, that's why. We had, as a board with Mr. Soulier, we gave him $10,000 more, because that's how we were able to bring him from the private sector. Remember that, Rich? And then when
I think most people prefer being a supervisor than a CEO.
Oh, yeah.
A finance individual.
I'd like to put up
That's
a
a headache.
with the numbers. I mean,
That's a headache.
but again, back to these employees, we're also hearing that when teachers call, they're telling them to go and evaluate kids, they're not doing it. That's another thing. So you might want to address it.
I've already met with staff, Mr. Adair, in reference to, since Ms. Mitchell that position has been abolished. So Mr. Adair, Dr. Tibb, and myself are absorbing those responsibilities. So as for pupil appraisal, they will fall under me. And so therefore, we've already met, we've already discussed school assignments and what's required of them. And so I will be working with them closely, as well as with the assistance of the supervisors, to ensure that the students are receiving the services that they need to receive in a timely manner. One thing I wanted to add was they were working 3 weeks before school and 3 weeks after. Now they're 2 and 2. So they're, yeah.
Thank you. But some of the things like picking up their children in a car line at another, I mean, the list goes on and on. They need to stop bringing the flashlight and bring the attention to them. because it's gonna eventually get back.
And it's not just pupil appraisal.
Oh, and I brought that up several times in the past.
Yeah, so I've met with all departments of programs in SPED, and so the goal is everybody boots on the ground. So which means that if I'm expected to be in the schools every day, everybody else is expected to be in the schools every day. And so
And
that,
thank you
that's,
again. And what I'd like staff to again do is look at people, the pay structure, and even base it on a parish equivalent to our size. Because, I mean, no offense, but I wouldn't want to be a principal or assistant principal, and then when I hear that somebody that's doing, in my opinion, a lot less work or responsibilities, something's wrong with the picture. And I'm done.
All right, next item, discussion of 4-day work week, summer schedule, Mr. Pupil.
You know, I'm from the old school. You work a day, you get paid. All right, here we are. People in this administration work 8 hours a day. All right? I'm thinking that if you come in an hour earlier and leave an hour later, and in 4 days, you can have off Friday. But my opinion is that it's illegal. You're giving somebody a day's pay and they're not there. That's not right. But if you want Friday off, I think you need to come in an hour early and an hour later, in 4 days, that covers your Friday, and you can have off Friday. That's what I'm thinking, because if you're giving, we're already in a budget crunch right now, and then you're just giving money away, in my opinion.
I mean, go ahead.
I've canvassed several school systems across the state, and many of them have policies just like this for the summer. So, I understand you saying that we're violating the law if we're not the only ones that's violating the law, if this is what's happening, so.
Well, maybe that needs to be brought up to the legislature or something, because, I'm from the working, I'm a businessman, and I want to run this place like a business.
I totally understand that, Mr.
If you spend $1, I want something to show for that
I totally
dollar.
understand. And the example I'm gonna use is sometimes and I hate to use him, but Mr. Bono may stay till 9 o'clock at night. That doesn't mean that Mr. Bono gets a day off because he stayed till 9, or he's expected to get paid from 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock. That's part of, there's a lot of times.
Salary?
Yeah.
Well, but salary, if you're in the business world and your job says you gotta stay late, you gotta stay late.
But the point is, we give back just as, we also give more.
I believe when that came about, the 4-day work, it was an agreement that an employee, if they are doing something, whatever they were doing that particular week, they make sure they have it done.
Yes.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Do it, regardless if you gotta stay an hour or.
And I can tell you that it does happen if you're on.
I see the guys when the grass was growing, I see
Mike,
some
there's a
guys,
parish work
I
4
see
days a
people,
week.
I see 1 or 2 people
No,
out
they
there
work
cutting
5.
grass, on Friday.
But the state does
question, I
4
see why
hours, 4
see why I
days,
couldn't keep up, I was working Friday.
410, that's right. So that's my,
I believe Steve, those principals are recognizing that, if they have a duty and that person didn't complete that whole duty, that task, that principal actually do it, that individual can finish that work.
Well, I'm talking about this whole office area. Everybody over here, just about 90% of,
Well, the staff, sales tax office.
are not salary, they by the hour. They by the hour.
The majority of our employees in the central office are salaried employees, so it is not violating.
Yeah, exempt employees, it wouldn't be a violation to give them off on Fridays. And I did exchange emails with Ms. Julie and Fred about this. So if they're exempt employees or salaried employees, then the example that was given is some days they're gonna work 4 or 5 hours more.
Exactly.
And that's part of being an exempt employee. But you're correct that they're an hourly employee They can't be played for an hour. That's not-
Hourly, you know.
And this sounds like something you guys could address in policy. If you wanted to change policy or alter policy or make a policy, then you can make that policy. And obviously, it's up to this board to determine whether or not you want to allow them to work 4 days or 5 days in the summer.
So, yeah, maintenance people, mechanics.
Yes, those would all qualify. Those would be hourly employees as well.
Or the maintenance
Maintenance people, what about the maintenance people?
Well, that don't make
What do we consider them as?
I know, that's what supposed to get work done in
Their
this.
salary.
So we might need
We need to look at that.
to go.
Yeah, so we need to bring it back up next month to vote.
You were saying,
Can we have Ms. Julie look at it and see what the policy is? Come up with something next month.
I believe the policy of that is, if a supervisor sees that the individual didn't do his work for that entire week, then that individual has to do it. And I think principals monitor that, supervisors monitor that.
But that's not what Mr. Steve said. Mr. Steve saying 40 hours.
Well,
We need to do 40 hours.
well, some people might have to stay over, you know, if the principal sees that the classroom like clean or they didn't finish public floor, that principal makes some of those individuals stay over.
Your custodians are getting off too, you know, they're not working on Fridays.
Well, they get off, but they're also working, they come in sometimes early, they leave sometimes late.
But that would be up to the principal to say, okay, this guy did his 40 hours already. So it's good.
That's what I'm saying, they need to punch in, work 40 hours, get off on Friday. Work
Do
40
40 hours
days.
or get another job.
Well, there's some of them that need to go get another.
We don't have a policy in place for this. It's approved every year when y'all approve the summer schedule. So that's something we can look at if y'all want to at summer schedule.
All right, so bring it up next month as the summer schedule.
yeah, because we had brought it, I brought it up. It was April. And I thought we had something.
All right, next item is discussion of transponder program, Mr. Beasley.
The transponder program, who's in charge?
In terms of
Well, who's gonna run the show?
transportation is gonna run the show.
Jax?
Jax, Mr. Jax, myself, Ms. Tina and Ms. Tyler are the ones that have gone through the training. Right now, Mr. Jax has gone through most of the training and has kind of done a trial basis with it during our summer enrichment program.
I think we
I
got,
talked to Mr. Horn from New Orleans, the one that comes train all our bus drivers. He said it's gonna take you a whole year to get this thing straight. So you told us that it should be up and running by the end of the year.
It will be up and running.
You said before they let out of school, we were gonna try it.
We're trying it this summer, Mr. Steve.
How you gonna try it? There's nobody working.
We had kids, we had buses rolling during the summer program.
Excuse me, and some of the program, that program, we did have issues, because we had to have our ESY drivers come to the office, so Mr. John can reroute them. We have one driver here that it was routed and we put her into a cane field. So there's certain things that they have to pinpoint in this to get it correct.
So Ms. Tina, why did we bring this to our attention? Why are we bringing it up in?
They asked a question and I'm answering.
But this is what I'm asking, why wasn't this brought to our attention? This is my first time hearing about a bus being routed into a
It
field.
was brought to Jackson's attention. So it's not me, I'm not the one that's heading this, it's Jax that y'all have doing all of the training on it. And it was brought to his attention,
Why
that's why
aren't you
my
being
bus drivers in here.
I need to move things like that.
That's what I asked for.
You're not being trained on this? Is that,
Me?
yeah.
All I'm doing is, there's Zoom where I watch, there's no hands-on for me.
Why
In
not?
the beginning, they had two days of doing it, but hands-on, the last meeting, he did the hands-on. I didn't do any hands-on. I sat and I
He
watched.
shouldn't be, he's got a whole different job, and look, you do what you should be the one that,
This is personnel.
yeah.
All right, we'll continue this discussion in executive session.
Hold on.
Well, it's not on the agenda.
You can go in executive session if you can discuss the performance of employees, but you have to give those employees a 24-hour notice.
Oh, okay.
So if you didn't give us 24 hours, you can't discuss them and you can't go in executive session about it.
Okay.
Next
I
meeting.
got a question.
Well, we can go in executive session and discuss the issue. We don't have to, we mention no name.
Well,
I know that's.
It can be job.
but you can't go into executive session unless you have a reason to go into executive session. An executive session, if you, reason for going into executive session is to discuss the performance of an employee, that employee is entitled to notice.
We going
That's-
to
that's
discuss,
not the
we going to discuss the.
No, I'm not saying that's the issue, I'm just
That is
saying,
not the issue.
Okay.
The performance of the employee is not the issue. The issue is we paid for a program, we were told it was gonna be put in before the end of the year.
then that should be discussed in public, that doesn't need to be in executive session.
Whose
So
fault?
exactly how does transponder work?
Did we not have the company come and do a
Yeah, we had
demonstration?
We had a little showing.
Oh, I didn't, I wasn't
That was,
here.
education.
Just
So
like with
it's
any
just-
software program, you're gonna have implementation, you have to have setup, you have to have training. And when you're inputting data that is old, sometimes it takes more time than anticipated, but it is on track to be ready. Yes, will it take a year to work out the kinks and the things that are going on with the program and get it right for us? I absolutely believe that. That happened when we changed accounting software. I mean, I think that's with anything new dealing with software, you're gonna have hiccups. That's
We are gonna
why,
implement it
Yes, we
this
are.
year.
yes.
No.
And I'm gonna, I don't wanna, if the issue is with the employee has been working in the program, if y'all want him removed from there, then by all means, that can happen immediately, but it's gonna have to be transportation, maybe the route.
That's not the issue. That's not the issue. Matter of fact, he and I worked on it years ago when Mr. Pupil was there, and we redid all the routes, and we saved a whole bunch of money. And it didn't take us over a year. We did it over a summer. That's right, Jack.
I wasn't there when Mr. Pupil was there.
Well, you were there right after.
Yes, sir.
Everything was on the map. We had all the information. All the map to go.
So then we no longer have a sonar, we
Yeah, we
just
still-
done,
yes,
so they working hand in
They working
hand?
hand in hand. Listen, the primary goal of what this program as well as Zonar and what all these programs were designed to do is to make transportation more efficient. It wasn't, the intent of the programs, whatever program we have, is not to replace a human being and not to say that somebody wasn't doing their job. That's not the intent of it. It's to make the routing and everything more efficient. One, we'd save on gas. Two, we'd have less phone calls to transportation for parents who are trying to figure out why their child's on X, Y, and Z bus. That's the primary purpose of it. This is not, the goal of what this program is not to try to eliminate anybody's position or to do any of that. So I just want that to be clear.
Mr. Willis, that program is costing us X amount of dollars. Now, I know that we have a problem with transportation in the city areas and Martinville area. You know, I like to see Broadridge area excluded from that, transform, finance. Because, you know, I don't get no complaint, our routes are short. You know, if we're gonna do a pilot program, let's do it with the city and some other, we'll have those longer routes.
It's not a pilot.
But we're not doing it, it's not a pilot program.
We don't need that.
So the
It's gonna cost
transporters
us
is
less.
gonna make the routes
It's-
evenly
it's
or?
less money.
It's gonna try to balance the routes and make the routes more efficient.
Okay.
We don't need a fee.
So when a parent calls about their child, they call the school or they call the, how does that work?
A lot of times what they're doing now is they're calling, if the buses are late, they're calling transportation. Sometimes early in the morning, the bus may be running a few minutes late. They're calling transportation to try to figure out where the bus is at. So they'll call the school too, but this will eliminate the need for them to be calling transportation early in the morning, trying to figure out where the bus is at. We sent out a survey to parents to request that they tell us whether or not their children will be riding on the bus, what their bus was last year, what grade they're in, and what their specific drop-off is going to be. So gathering all of that information so that we have everybody who is intentional about riding a bus is going to be accounted for. So.
All right, Mr. Pupil, any more discussion on that? Mr. Pupil, any more discussion? All right, next item, going over the budget and using reserve funds for projects, Mr. Pupil.
we're using reserve funds and the board's not even being told about it. We need to be set aware, like they want a reduction in force, like cutting all these positions and all that. We should have known about that when it started to happen, when you started to use the reserve money.
Mr. Fugely, the last 2 years I have presented a budget that has been adopted by the board that shows a deficit, which means you're using reserves. We all have been aware of
But
this.
we need to bring it up and have like a little meeting where we know where the money's going, why we using the reserve money. I mean, if.
To run the school system, I can give you, I presented last year the detailed budget, line item by line item that shows electricity, that shows salaries, that shows everything. That's,
We get it, we just got one just today. How can you go over it, before the meeting?
this, that I give y'all every month as a state as a requirement by the state that has to be presented. If you want more detail, I can absolutely provide you more detail. I can't give it to you before when our packets go out, because our packets go out typically before the end of the month, and this has to be as of the last day of the month preceding the meeting. So that's why I hand it out at the meeting. But if you have any questions, you are free to call me anytime between the meetings or come to my office and I can go over in more detail. If you want me to provide you something more detailed every month, I can absolutely do that.
So we
can't get it in our packet, it's too hard to get it? at the
No,
end of the month?
because it has to be as of the last day of the month. And because we mail our packets a week ahead, typically, we have not met the last day of the month.
Should that be mailed?
I mean, I can mail it separately, yeah.
Just like we mail a lot of things to us sometimes, we just mail that thing.
Yeah, I can mail it separately once the last day, just depending on how, like.
It's hard for us to look over it in a matter of 15, 10 to 15
Right,
minutes.
but if you have questions, you can call me. I mean,
one area where we're.
And you look at that, you don't understand that.
We're missing.
I understand.
Most
Most
part,
people do not understand that.
one area where I would like to, for us to focus on also is our attorney fees with the desegregation case. I think we need to look at it closer and start monitoring and maybe put a cap on it. Because I'm sure Ms. Casey could probably give us, some dollar amounts. I know what the dollar amounts is for the whole one. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say how much it is. But I think if we start focusing on minimizing the cost right there, that'll be a big step in the attorney fees. And even if we have to get Mr. Boyer involved and just say, okay, give us some advice on how we should get charged on some of these things, because they charge us for, they wake up in the morning, they charge us. So, it's ridiculous. So that is the number one area where we probably need to start, that and the buses. Because the buddy system, that's big bucks.
All right, Mr. Fugely, any more discussion on this?
Nope.
Motion to go to executive session?
Move.
Motion and second. Mr. Hebert and Mr. Stiles. Okay? Executive session.